Coming up tonight on YCN News, state fire officials issue a warning to homeowners. Jury deliberations begin in the Robarge murder trial. And we continue today taking a look at why measles are making a return nationwide. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening. It's Monday, February 9th. I'm Laura James. Welcome to YCN News. Well, a few months from now, we'll remember this as the winter that never stopped snowing. The winter that kept all the shovels on deck. For the third Monday in a row, school closings kept kids and teachers out of their classrooms. Businesses are open, keeping an eye on the slippery floors. And motorists are also moving very slowly along the snow-covered roads. And snow-covered roofs are a problem, too. New Hampshire State Fire Marshal Bill Degnan reminds property owners to clear the snow off roofs overloaded with snow. Now, the snow may look pretty on the rooftop and roof slopes, yet it can cause weight cave-ins. Recent snowfall has made the weight on many roofs uneven, and that's where the danger lies. Wet and heavy snow can cause as much as 20 pounds per cubic foot. At the least, a roof rake may be needed to even outweight the snow on the roof. At best, find a person experienced in roof maintenance, because standing on a roof to remove snow may be too dangerous if done by the wrong person. Jury deliberations are underway in Newport Superior Court in the case involving accused murderer James Robarge, formerly of Charlestown, New Hampshire. Robarge was living with a relative in southern Vermont when his estranged wife filed for divorce from James Robarge on June 27, 2013. That was the last day she was alive. That June day, police say. Her remains were found in Unity, New Hampshire, about 10 days later. The trial began January 14th with jurors viewing the home on Happy Acres Road, the home where investigators found splatters of Kelly Robarge's blood. The blunt force trauma to Kelly by another person may have been done while she was standing and then falling to the floor, an expert witness for the prosecution testified 2 weeks ago. That according to WNTK. James Robarge testified in his own defense last week, telling the court he never hurt or threatened to hurt Kelly. Turning to Vermont news, it will be at least another year in the making, yet work continues on the new Brattleboro Bridge on I-91 at exits 2 and 3. The bridge, under repair, spans the West River. Until work is completed sometime the spring of 2016, traffic will remain reduced to one lane in each direction. The speed limit is reduced as well, and when the new bridge is complete, it will be 104 feet wide. It will feature 4 lanes of traffic, 2 northbound lanes and 2 southbound lanes. We continue today with our special segment on the outbreak of measles in the country after a 15-year hiatus. YCN News spoke with Valley Regional Hospital Chief Medical Officer Oliver Herford to learn more about the illness.
What makes measles, either having it or being vaccinated against it, what makes this different from other childhood communicable diseases?
The vaccine is no different than many others. However, it's a live vaccine, so the virus is alive when it gets vaccinated. But it's one form that does not cause the disease, but still produces the antibodies that then will prevent the real measles to infect the child. So that's a typical, and that's the difference, for example, to pneumococcus or tetanus. They are just particles or dead bacteria that get injected. Okay, I put back dead bacteria, particles of bacteria, I should say. So it's alive, and it sometimes can actually cause a mild disease like a rash or a fever in 5% of kids. But that's not specific to measles. It's also true for the rubella and the mumps virus vaccine. Okay. The measles itself can be a rather serious disease. For one thing, it's not pleasant to get sick for anybody. It comes on with fever, runny nose, and a lot of secretions in the throat, and later on a rash that is very typical and normally makes the diagnosis that this is measles based on the rash. but it also can infect the lung, the liver, and most seriously the brain in about 1 in 1,000 children. And this disease is called encephalitis. It's an infection of the brain that, if it occurs, can lead to lifelong damage of that child. And there's also a form of encephalitis that occurs later on after infection. It's very rare, but also can lead to lifelong disability. And that's for children who are healthy. But measles can be very deadly in kids who have leukemia. For example, there are numbers that go up to 70% of children who have leukemia and get infected with measles can die. So that's a serious infection for them.
What do you say to encourage a parent or guardian to vaccinate their child against measles?
Well, for one thing, it's absolutely safe. That's the important thing. And, as I said, 5% of kids get a little bit of a fever and a rash, and that's really about it. So there's really no medical reason not to get the vaccine. And there's a lot of misinformation, we know that, and that's part of the scare. Some people are afraid of, autism specific, despite the study that came out in 1998 was fabricated. It was basically fraudulent, and the person who conducted it had financial interest to do it, and he was stripped of his medical license. But still, this rumor is running around and causing havoc, and very likely causing some kids to get measles, despite they should have had the vaccine in the first place.
Please join us tomorrow for the final part of our interview with Dr. Herford to learn more about the measles virus and vaccinations against the same. You can go online to cdc.gov. After the break, we'll have more news from around our region.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Laura James. A tax that could affect nonprofit organizations will come under review again in the New Hampshire legislature. House Bill 569 is sponsored by State Representative David Hess. If ultimately approved, the tax could also require hospitals and colleges or universities to pay taxes to the state. YCN News will report on this story at a later date as it makes its way through the House. Winter weather also means road accidents when drivers ignore road conditions. Vermont State Police report 24-year-old Miles Kirby of Riverside, Rhode Island, was issued a written warning for traveling too fast for road conditions last night around 11:30 p.m. Kirby was driving on I-91 at exit 10 north near Hartford, Vermont, on snow-covered roads when he lost control of his Volkswagen Jetta and left the roadway. He hit a sign pole, snapped it off, and damaged the entire driver's side of the car. Kirby was wearing his seatbelt and was not injured. A 25-year-old Laconia, New Hampshire man is being cited by Vermont State Police with traveling too fast for road conditions and driving without liability insurance. Stefan Walmar also was cited for causing a car crash yesterday at 5 p.m. on I-89 South near Hartford, Vermont. Walmar's Honda Civic crashed into a brand new Chevrolet Suburban driven by 50-year-old Joseph Ryan of Cohasset, Massachusetts. Both men were wearing seat belts. Walmar lost control of his car, slid sideways into the left lane and in front of Ryan's car. Ryan's car crashed into the driver's side of Walmar's car. Both cars went off into the medium with the Suburban's airbags deployed. Hartford Fire checked both men for injuries. In Vermont news, Stephen Constantino is now the new Vermont Health Access Commissioner. Constantino last served as Rhode Island's Medicaid program overseer. Constantino will take over for former Commissioner Mark Larson in making sure people and small business leaders can sign up for medical insurance on the state's health exchange program. This exchange is part of the nation's new health insurance law. We end our news today with a feature spot. There's a new queen in town. Riley Jo Busby is the 2015 Newport Winter Carnival Queen. Catherine Locke, the 2014 Carnival Queen, handed over her crown to Busby on Saturday night. This year marks the 99th year of the Newport Winter Carnival. When YCN News returns, we'll join River Valley Chronicle's Elizabeth Gerazio, who spoke with Claremont City Manager Guy Santagate.
The YCN News continues in a moment.